Sound speeds, and welcome back to Masked Mics. Now, before we go and unmask the two microphones that are masked before me, let me say this. If you have not yet watched the videos in the Masked Mic series leading up to this one, so basically the number's lower than this episode number, you'll want to start at the beginning because every video feeds into the next. We start by listening to a microphone, then we reveal them. Then we mask two more and we reveal them in the next episode. So that's the way the series goes. If you miss out on one of them, then you miss out on the fun. Miss out on one, miss out on the fun. That could be a tagline. Miss out on one, miss out on the fun. I have to write that down. But for right now, trust me on that. Thank me later. I'm going to go ahead and release these two microphones to the world and let you see what they are, unmasking them. Starting with microphone number one, the Samson Q2U. Microphone number two is the Shure SM58. Now, both of these microphones are under $100. And I will say this. In addition to the links being down in the description, you should be aware of these microphones because the Samson, despite the fact that Samson is considered to be a cheaper brand or discount brand, so to speak, this microphone is one you're going to want to hear because it sounds, first of all, like this. It sounds really good. And it is feature packed. Not only is it an XLR microphone, but it's also a USB. So if you start off with your podcast or your video game stream and you're not familiar with audio interfaces and stuff like that, you can buy this microphone for $55 and completely set yourself up in the world of audio for your Twitch stream or for your YouTube career or for your podcast, whatever you're doing there. This microphone sets you up entirely just by itself. And if you want to play like the big boys later and get yourself a USB audio interface and start building up a more impressive looking rig, you can still keep the microphone as the exact same microphone that you use, but go XLR out of the microphone into your computer and start going that way. So it does allow you to build and grow, but it does have a great place to start. Now also, if you do go USB mode, you can take your headphones and plug it directly into the microphone for zero latency monitoring out of the computer. And there's even an up-down volume switch right there that you can use. It also has an on-off switch. Geez, this thing also has accessories like crazy that comes with it. Although some of them are on the cheap side, as you would expect for a $55 microphone this packed, the accessories can be a little on the inexpensive side. But I will tell you, you get a lot for your money, and I think this is not actually a very correctly priced microphone. It should be more expensive. But in contrast, the Shure SM58 is one that you probably heard of before, at least the Shure brand. It is associated with high-end or very good sounding, robust, great audio gear, especially if you are familiar with the SM58, you will know that it is a very common microphone used on stage for concerts. It can take a lot of abuse. It is built like a beast. It is capable of handling a bunch of impact, and you can damage the thing or whatever else. And because it's $100, you can easily replace it. And it does sound good pretty much however you use it. And I will add this as well. There is no bells and whistles on this microphone. For $100, which is almost twice the price of this microphone, it just comes with the microphone. There is no on-off switch, but you can pay a few dollars more and get an on-off switch on an SM58. Or you can get an extra long version if you want to hold on to more microphone. There are various different other options available, but not at the $100 price range. So which one did you actually get more surprised by? Were you surprised that the Q2U was up against the SM58? Tell me in the comment section down below what you thought of this test. But for right now, I think there's two other microphones that need to be masked. Get your listening ears on because we have two new masked mics before us. But before we compare the two, why don't we start with the noise floor test? Back in 1991, I could not tolerate spicy of any kind. I'd go to a Mexican restaurant and I would basically be scratching my tongue if I had some of the chips and salsa. So my tolerance was very low. And then in 1991 in high school, I met my friend Thomas. And upon going into his house and seeing what snacks he had, basically he loved salsa. So we went out and walked around and grabbed salsa, brought it back. And that's when I first started getting introduced to salsa through Thomas. And throughout the years, we started getting hotter and hotter stuff to eat and started building up my tolerance even more and more to the point where now I love it. But there was a time back in probably the late 90s when I lost my sense of taste towards spiciness. I could no longer detect spiciness. I had fried out my taste buds. I don't know how it happened or when it happened, but what I do know is that I would go into restaurants and I would say, make me the spiciest food you possibly can. I would say, like, bring me the hottest, hot wings you have. And then when you've made them, I want you to make them hotter. And then when you think that they're ready to deliver because they're hot enough, I want you to make them even hotter. I can't detect spiciness. Now, here's an interesting fact. My body could detect it. My body could detect the heat. My tongue would not feel spicy, but my face would break out in sweat. My face would go red or splotchy or whatever. My body, my nose would start running. All the things that happen when you eat a very, very high amount of spicy food. But my taste buds were completely numb to it. So I don't know how that worked out. I think I channeled an inner bird, because if you're familiar with birds, they cannot detect capsaicin. So they do not know the taste of spiciness. Just, I guess it's something on their beaks. But I used to go into restaurants and I would say, make it as spicy as possible. And there would be something coming out like chicken wings, and you could smell it just hot and steamy all over the place. And people would be covering up their noses as it was walking out. Now, it would smell really spicy to me. I could smell it, but I could not taste it. And I would taste it and be like, oh gosh, these are so good. Because for some reason, I liked the taste of the spicy. Even though I couldn't feel it, I could detect the spiciness as a flavor. I don't really know how that works or how it worked. But oddly enough, after I was married, probably around 2012, the very first day of that I had something spicy in this year, 2011, 2012, 2013, something like that, I was eating something spicy. And all of a sudden, I felt like this really weird something in my mouth. And I didn't know if I was having an allergic reaction or whatever, because I was eating something spicy. I turned to my wife and I say, what is this? What's going on? Is this the same stuff you got? And she's like, yeah, why? And she was just as puzzled as I was, because it was very, very different than something I had felt in a long time. I had lost my sense of spiciness, so I could not detect it. But all I knew is that my tongue was tingling like crazy, and it actually kind of burned a little bit. My eyes were watering just like they always were. Nose started running just like they always were. But it was like the heat returned. And since then, I've had a kind of a low to medium tolerance of heat. I can't eat, crazy stuff like I used to, where I was just like, oh yeah, bring me like whatever, the hottest thing is. And now some of the restaurants I would go to, they would bring out stuff that they had mixed around with some extracts. I'm pretty sure of that, because they would peek around the corner and be looking like, watch this guy. And I'd be like, oh yeah, these are great. And they're just like, how is this guy tolerating this? I don't know how it worked out. All I do know is that my taste buds returned. So now I can tolerate things like Tabasco. I love Tabasco. That doesn't faze me at all. But if I eat like even jalapenos and stuff like that, with the seeds on the inside, now I kind of taste it and I'm like, okay, that's a little on the spicy side to me. You can maybe be looking at me and saying, geez, you're a wimp. But that's just me now. But I still love it. I still can eat a lot of spicy food and it doesn't affect me over the course of time. Like some people can just eat spicy food and not have it tear up their stomachs. Me, I'm very much that way. Unless I eat nothing but spicy stuff all day, then I'll feel it. But thank you very much for listening to that story, and I hope that it gave you an idea of what these two microphones sound like and gave you enough time to compare the two of them. And so be sure to tune into the next episode of Mass Mics to get the reveal of these two microphones. But until then, it'll be my secret. Take care. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.